I've offered it. I've been trying to debate
and
him for 2
here's how
years.
this debate format will go.
Good.
I'll say Governor Newsom, Governor DeSantis, economy. That's the only word I'm going to throw out.
Love it.
You minute, then you go at it. Next topic.
Right.
And I'll moderate it that way, and you have my word. I'll moderate it that way.
I'm all in. Count on it.
You would do a 2-hour debate with Ron DeSantis.
I make it 3.
3-hour debate with.
Yeah, make
do
it.
I hear 4?
And do it with 1 day notice with no notes. I look forward to that.
My question to Gavin Newsom is, are you kidding me? Welcome back to Passionate Take. As you know, people are leaving California in droves, and yet we have this governor, Gavin Newsom, who says he wants to debate Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is running to be the Republican nominee, ultimately be the president of the United States. If Gavin Newsom wants to debate Ron DeSantis, stop fooling around, stop all these talking, chirping on the sidelines. Get in the race. Throw his hat in the ring and primary Joe Biden.
In no circumstances would you consider running for the Democratic nomination?
No.
None.
None.
Just
Not after
checking.
this conversation.
No. What is this conversation?
I have no
This is the
idea.
worst interview you've had. That's a pretty. Listen, I want your passion. I'm just telling you, Joe Biden could not do what you're doing. And by the way, that ought to tell you something. And you know what? I know deep.
I couldn't do what he's
I
done.
know deep
Master
down.
class
I know
in the last 2.5 years of results.
I know deep down inside, you know it's true, but you're a party guy. You're sticking up for your guy, and
love
you
this
know
country.
he's a cognitive
I love my
mess.
president.
Is it that Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom have some sort of agreement going on here? Newsom believed, even though he survived the recall, that California is a great state. He's not worried about the high crime. He's not worried about homelessness. He's not worried about poverty. He's not worried that people are paying more in income tax.
There's no other state where more opportunity presents itself in the state of California. It's just a fact. I mean, look at our GDP growth. Look at our innovation. Look at the entrepreneurial spirit here. It's second to none. Look at our natural beauty. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
You're right about that.
And
I agree with you.
There were we didn't just establish a 13.3% for the 1% tax.
It's been there 10 years.
It's been there 10 years. There's been no new tax increases. I've actually reduced the regulatory
It's the highest in the
state.
country, Gavin.
You know, it's the highest for the 1%. And it hasn't stopped in the last. But no, Sean.
Let's deal with that.
In the last
The
decade,
1%.
in the last decade since we established that tax rate, California's GDP has been 3.1%. The nation 2.1%. How do you square that circle?
It's interesting you say that. So Governor Cuomo once said, "Tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich." We taxed them, and they're leaving.
I don't talk like that. I've never been saying tax the rich.
You just said it in this interview.
I said 10
times.
years ago we had 13.3% for the 1%.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed by a progressive tax rate that actually protects middle class.
How much
I'm
is
proud of the
enough?
fact that we're protecting the middle class. I'm proud of the fact that working families are treated better in California than they are in conservative states and places like Texas. The bottom 10% are treated better in California than they are in Florida. Who are you for?
But who's paying that? Who's paying for the Medi-Cal
By the way,
$2.7 billion
and the
for illegals?
opportunities here are endless, and people move in from around the world for riches and new beginnings. This is a remarkable place. Some of the most iconic companies starting here, more IPOs, 1,000 IPOs in the last decade. How is that possible with that tax rate?
I hear every talking...
3 times more than Florida. These are not talking points, they're facts.
He believes his policies are working, and that it's being overblown. It's being by the media, and also by the GOP, the Republican officials, governors.
We're here in the once great city of San Francisco. We came in here and we saw people defecating on the street. We saw people using heroin. We saw people smoking crack cocaine. And you look around, the city is not vibrant anymore. It's really collapsed because of leftist policies. And these policies have caused people to flee this area. They don't prosecute criminals like they do in most parts of the country. And the wreckage has really been sad to see. And so I've seen so many businesses boarded up. I've seen so much riffraff just running around. And it just shows you these policies matter. Leadership matters, They are doing it wrong here. No wonder why we've had so many people move from San Francisco to Florida over the last few years. We got to stop this madness.
Senators, congressmen, congresswomen are overinflating the problems that is going on in the state of California. Joe Biden is currently the leader of the Democratic Party. But Joe Biden is already 80 years old. 70% of the American people believe that Joe Biden's age is a factor in the 2024 election.
President Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't, and I don't know.
Were you?
No.
They do not believe that he will make it all the way through if he is reelected. And that's a scary thought, because his running mate is Kamala Harris. And we know all Kamala Harris does is giggle. You know that the Southern border is crisis, right? She giggles.
The question was, what is the job of the vice president? And your answer is part of the job, I'm guessing.
In fact, she just make that her middle name, Kamala Giggle Harris, because she is at this point is the worst vice president we have ever seen in our lifetime. And Gavin Newsom, for all his bravado, for all his great things and boasting about himself, if he really want to challenge Ron DeSantis, throw his hat in the ring, stop pussyfooting around, throw his hat in the ring, and primary Joe Biden. But before he even do that, why don't he encourage Joe Biden? If Biden believes that his policies work for the American people, that we are more prosperous today, we are safe, we are respected around the world, children are getting what they need in school. If his policies are so great, why didn't he debate RFK Jr.? What is he so concerned about? If he's not worried about RFK Jr., why is he not debating him? Get on the debate stage, since he is so buddy and close with Joe Biden. And that's what he said with Sean Hannity. That's why he's not gonna, and he know what Hannity is trying to lead down into. Because Hannity in this interview said, you are much more coherent, while the president is in a cognitive decline. And he's falling everywhere. It seems like anytime that we see Joe Biden, he's always blaming this, he's always blaming that. It's never his fault. But yet, Governor Newsom never called out Joe Biden. He says that Joe Biden's policies is working, so why would I challenge him? I want him to be the nominee. I want him to represent the Democrat Party for 4 more years. So that's why he's not going to challenge Biden. But he said if DeSantis want to debate him, he's willing not only to debate 2, 3, 4 hours with DeSantis. Now, why on earth would Ron DeSantis take out time out of his busy schedule as we are gearing up for the debates in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the first debates for the Republican, and also hitting the states of Iowa and New Hampshire, which is the first state for the Republican, South Carolina, Nevada. He's also in Texas.
We will stop the invasion. We will reassert our nation's sovereignty. We are going to treat the Mexican drug cartels as the threat that they are. We are going to be the administration that finally brings the issue of our southern border to a conclusion. We have to reestablish the rule of law in this country. I tell you, as president, we are going to fully deputize all state and local governments to be able to enforce immigration law. We want results. We don't want hollow rhetoric. We don't want empty promises. And so when we go in on day one, we're going to marshal every bit of authority that we have. We are going to deliver results. No excuses. We're going to get the job done.
Why would he put all those things on hold to debate with an individual while it's a colleague of his, a governor from a big state? But why would he take time out of his schedule to debate Newsom? He's not going to win the state of California. Same thing, Newsom wouldn't win people in the state of Florida. But if Newsom enters into the race, he can debate Joe Biden first, and then he'd make through that rigor process, and Ron DeSantis is the Republican nominee. Well, guess what? Both sides will get what they want, right? DeSantis for the Republican, Democrat will be Gavin Newsom. The American people also will get what they want, correct? Because the American people do not want to see Trump versus Biden. One is 80 years old and he can't remember anything. Where's he's at? He thinks he's been in Congress for 500 years. He thinks COVID have killed over 300 million people, which means only 30 million are alive, which I'm presuming will be infants and little children, right? All he does all day is talk about his sunglasses, and the media ask him what kind of flavor ice cream did you get. That's all he talks about, right? Well, Donald Trump is like, when everything doesn't go his way, he's like a little child. He's like a little petulant child. Look, let's be clear about something. The case that was charged by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, that is a political case, like I said on my show numerous times. If that was a federal election violation, the FEC or the DOJ, Department of Justice, should have charged him. They didn't charge him. It's 7 years after the fact. That is something he should resolve with his wife, Melania, if he want to keep that secret from her. But there's no reason why you should have a rogue DA, district attorney, go out charging the former president for a crime 7 years after the fact. However, the document case is much more problematic. This also is of Trump's doing. He was given over a year to return these documents, okay? He has no right to these documents. The game plan, the battle plan to attack certain countries. He doesn't have that. He has to return it, but he's keeping it like they are his toys. You have an 80-year-old in Joe Biden, okay? And then you have a 77-year-old in Donald Trump. The American people are ready for a fresher, newer voice. We are ready for the next generation to step up. And I think, like I mentioned on the show right now, we're going to have to let both of these candidates and both of these parties see who will ultimately represent the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. But I think if I give you the option, Republican will be represented by Ron DeSantis. And for all the bravado that Gavin Newsom brings, if he is the nominee for the Democratic Party, that is going to get a lot of the American people excited to watch that race. Okay? Because when you look at the end of the day, I think most of American people are moderate. They may say I'm a conservative, may say lean right, or they may say I'm a liberal and I lean a little bit left. But even if they go right or a little bit left, they do not go all the way to the right or they go all the way to the left. And for any of these candidates, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Ron DeSantis, or even Newsom, if he decides to enter this race, the states of Nevada, the state of Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Georgia, you have to be able to win over independent voters. When you have Joe Biden, he's so forgetful, he's so old, and you have Donald Trump who cried foul at everything, and certainly the media hasn't been fair to him, and now the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. But there are certain things that Donald Trump brings on himself. And I think at the end of the day, the American people doesn't really care about this. They care how they put food on the table. They care how they cool their home or heat up their home if they're in the Northeast. Make sure their children are getting properly educated. Make sure that our country is safe. Make sure that we are using our tax dollars, spending it wisely. At the end of the day, these things, that's what the American people care about. So to go back to my point, Ron DeSantis should not waste his time to debate Governor Newsom, because if Gavin Newsom wants to debate Ron DeSantis, like I said, do the very best thing. First of all, do one thing first. Tell Joe Biden to debate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The more I've written and researched my uncle and my father, the more proud I am of them. And I have devoted my life to promoting the same kind of values that I think they promoted. And I'm trying to, one of my purposes in running is to remind the Democratic Party of, what we are supposed to represent and what we've always represented. And, people have said to me, why don't you run as an independent? And I say, because I'm a Democrat. This is who I am. This is my identity, but I want my party back. I want my party to be the party that I grew up in, the party of John Kennedy, the party of Robert Kennedy, the party of FDR, and Harry Truman.
Second, if you want to debate DeSantis, that's a long ways away, buddy. You want to debate him, that's fine, that's great. And I'm sure he will look forward to it, because you keep running all these ads against Ron DeSantis. That's where freedom goes to die. And I'm sure Governor DeSantis will be glad to get in the ring, to get on that debate stage to debate Gavin Newsom. But he has to get his name in there first. And right now, there's no chance of that happening. He have been very supportive of the current president. And he's like, I'm supporting 46, which is Joe Biden. Said this race is far from being concluded. I know who the front runner right now, presumably Joe Biden will be the nominee, but also, and Donald Trump's leading Ron DeSantis right now, some polls 20, 30 points ahead of Ron DeSantis. Also, Barack Obama, when he defeated Hillary Clinton, he was down by 30-something points, and he ended up winning, and winning 2 terms. To watch the news and see Gavin Newsom and his enthusiasm. If he is so enthusiastic, if he believes his policy can work for the American people, if he doesn't believe that California, the people of California are leaving in droves out of his state to go, not other states, go to the state of Florida, then get his name in the ring. Primary Joe Biden, and then we can talk about him debating Ron DeSantis. But right now, DeSantis has enough on his plate. He is running a campaign. He has to make sure that he ultimately will be the Republican nominee before any of this can happen. But like I said, thank you for watching my show. Always enjoy being on Passionate Take. Make sure you tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, anybody that you see, you want the best in politics, nonpartisan, unbiased, unscripted, give it to you straight like it is. Tell you facts so that you, the American people, and people around the world, that make sure we elect the right person into the White House. Thank you for watching my show. Make sure you smash the red subscribe button to support my channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.